Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, Minister of Rural Development and Local Government, Khadijah Ameen, has accused the People's National Movement of complaining about the government's programs because they are no longer benefiting from state programs. And the PNM Patriots will say, no, that is not true. That is not true at all. But anyhow, she also rejected the opposition's claims that the termination of more than 4,000 employees from the National Reforestation and Watershed Program has allegedly led to a decline in the ability of some areas to respond to bushfires. According to Ameen, the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service has indicated that the number of fires being experienced at this time of the year is not out of the ordinary. Speaking with Guardian Media yesterday, she accused the PNM of perpetuating a gimme culture that she claimed often fed criminality and nepotism. And we're not talking about the normal average worker in the reforestation company or agency or what department, people. We're talking about the heads, a lot of the heads who ended up benefiting from probably tens of thousands or even millions of dollars. Ameen added, the minister's families are listed in the reforestation who have contracts, councillors as well, brothers and sisters of councillors and PNM officials who had contracts that had to stop. We have a number of fraud situations where people who were living abroad were being paid, and they were being paid to supervise projects. How are you going to supervise anything if you're living abroad? So they have to sign off on projects before they are paid. So that just goes to tell you, when you have the poor quality projects out there on the road, it's because the supervisors will ghost. They want around to be able to see anything, see any of the work being carried out or anything like that. Now, bear in mind, let me read my response online first. The same PNM party whose members preached the weaning, belt-tightening, coal-pot, bicycle gospel for 10 years really expects the mass population to believe that they suddenly care about unemployment, healthcare, education, and crime. Only the Kakash media and those under the Balize spell who are obsessed with tribalism will believe that lie. PNM does not care. But nevertheless, bear in mind, I do hope that the government reconsiders leaving the reforestation program or department permanently closed. It's something that you can reopen, Madam Prime Minister. Just ensure that there's proper accountability and transparency. It will provide much needed employment, but besides that, it will also serve a good purpose for Trinidad and Tobago in general. They had a good purpose, I'm not saying it didn't have corruption, definitely, and that's why sometimes you have to end the program to be able to get rid of all that. And besides that, I also want to ask Khadijah Ameen and the government once again. There's so much of evidence of fraud and corruption and gimme, as you said. I'm not disputing that. Seems as though you have evidence to prove that. So if that is true, when are we going to start to hear about any prosecutions taking place? Now, I did hear that with WASA, at least with WASA, certain investigations were, certain evidence was handed over to the police for investigations. What about in these cases? Are you handing over this evidence of corruption, serious crimes, fraud you're talking about? Are you handing it over also to the TTPS to be able to conduct a thorough investigation? Because justice needs to be served. If individuals were found committing very serious crimes, then they should be held accountable for their actions. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar has repeated a call for transparency from the Caribbean community CARICOM over the process used to reappoint Secretary General Dr. Carla Barnett. In a statement posted on Facebook yesterday, Persad-Bissessar said, I call on CARICOM for transparency on the surreptitious and odious process used to reappoint S.G. Barnett. She said Trinidad and Tobago remained committed to CARICOM, but warned that government will continue to challenge the process until the matter is resolved. Trinidad and Tobago remains committed to CARICOM, but until this matter is transparently resolved, the organization and its secretariat should absolutely expect no quarter from my government. And rightfully so, Prime Minister Pasabi says, stand up for what is right. She said, this is not a simple run-of-the-mill administrative appointment. It's an appointment with long-term ramifications for my citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. My response, dear PNM and Kakash media houses, if the former Prime Minister Rowley, Emperor Rowley, the great and one and only Emperor Rowley, wasn't formally invited to participate in the reappointment of Barnett, right? Wasn't even notified of the voting process going to take place. Do you think that he would have stayed silent about it? Why are people so bold-faced and double-standard in this country? CARICOM members should face some form of disciplinary action for treating our Prime Minister with such utter disrespect. As a matter of fact, they should do the right thing and hold the voting process all over again. Most likely the same individual will be reappointed, but this time Trinidad and Tobago, which is an important member of the CARICOM body, would be involved in the whole process. In a telephone interview with Guardian Media, the Kakash Media, yesterday, TTNNA President Eddie Stewart claimed that a senior doctor who heads a department at Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex in Mount Hope died suddenly after completing an extended shift over the Easter long weekend. Using a man's passing for your own political or whatever type of agenda. My goodness, boy, that is... While Stewart declined to speculate over the exact cause of death, because he knows most likely it has nothing to do with a doctor working overtime, he suggested that it may have been as a result of him and his colleagues being forced to fill gaps left by the action taken by his membership over the past few weeks. My response, this man has the audacity to use the death of a doctor for his own personal agenda or his, for his groups, his unions' personal agenda. And the media is reporting it as though it's factual. You really believe that the doctor passed away because, or association, probably not a union, but association. So you really believe that the doctor passed away because he had to work an extra shift? What was he? What did they have him? What? Cleaning bedpans and stuff like that. The head of the nursing association. Can you answer that question to us? What exactly was the doctor doing that he doesn't usually do anyhow? Because your nurses were taking time off, so the doctors that had to be cleaning bedpans now. I don't know. You know. I just asked you that question. That makes sense to you? If you truly believe that you are the one responsible for what took place there for his death, then why don't you stop these ridiculous protests, which are clearly politically motivated? Why don't you negotiate for proper wages and better working conditions through the proper channels? Have a discussion with the CPO, have a discussion with the Minister of Health, and whosoever else. Don't worry, patriots. Don't worry. Don't worry. The government will hire even more nurses, so you won't have to work extra duties. I don't know what's the fuss all about it. All this fuss about it. The government has already started the process of hiring more nurses. You hypocrites are demanding change in a corrupt PNM system, you know. A system that has been around for decades upon decades, and all of a sudden now, you want UNC to come and wave a magic wand, change everything overnight. So you hypocrites are demanding change in a corrupt PNM system far more passionately than you did with your times of reflection under the great Emperor Rowley. Because of course people will say, but you know there was action taking place and discontent. There was discontent while PNM was in office as well. Yes, I know that, but not this type of threats that are being made and so forth by the association, the nursing association. You think you can bully the Prime Minister into submission, but you won't be able to do so. In times like this, you need to give these patriots the Rowley effect. That's what is needed right about now, people. Rowley used his aggression and his strength for the wrong reasons, but give Jackie jacket. Rowley was one of the most bold, very bold prime ministers we ever had in our nation's history. Once again, it's just that he used it for the wrong reasons. He used that quality he has, that personality he has, for the wrong reason.
Wednesday, April 8th Weather Report, Trinidad to Tobago. Weather Summary. Morning, pre-dawn to early morning showers are possible, particularly over eastern areas. Afternoon, mostly sunny to partly cloudy with a 35% chance of light rain or isolated showers. There is a medium chance for heavier showers or isolated thunderstorms, specifically favoring southern to western regions of Trinidad. Night conditions are expected to become generally fair or partly cloudy with a low chance of lingering showers. Hazards, gusty winds to localized street or flash flooding are possible in the event of heavier downpours. Hourly forecast. 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. cloudy to light rain. 23 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius, 10% to 25% chance of rain. 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. partly sunny. 28 degrees Celsius to 29 degrees Celsius, 15% to 35% chance of rain. 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. partly sunny. 27 degrees Celsius to 28 degrees Celsius, 0% to 10% chance of rain. 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. clear to sunny. 24 degrees Celsius to 26 degrees Celsius, 0% chance of rain. 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. clear to partly cloudy. 24 degrees Celsius, 0% chance of rain. Marine forecast. Sea state, moderate with waves 1.5 to 2.0 meters in open waters and below 1.0 meter in sheltered areas. Winds easterly to southeasterly 10 to 15 knots, gusting to 25 knots near showers. Tides, Trinidad, high at 5:02 a.m. and 6:14 p.m. Low at 11:41 a.m. and 11:36 p.m. Tides, Tobago, high at 4:38 a.m. and 5:32 p.m. Low at 11:08 a.m. and 11:02 p.m. Sun and moon. Sun, rise at 5:56 a.m. Set at 6:14 p.m. Moon, rise at 11:31 p.m. Tuesday to set at 10:28 a.m. Rise again at 12:15 a.m. Thursday. Additional details. Daytime high 29 degrees Celsius. Overnight low 23 degrees Celsius. UV index very high 9. Sun protection recommended between 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Wind breezy from the east at 12 miles per hour. Humidity approximately 68%.
Regional news now. Outgoing president of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, remains confident that teachers will continue to receive justice in areas where it is needed. Speaking at the 24th Biennial Conference, Robinson reflected on the vaccine mandate, which was one of the major issues in the recent past. Robinson said that the union continues to move forward with the case before the Privy Council, and I hope definitely when it pertains to that issue, that justice is served, that the people, the workers of that union are compensated significantly as well.
It was the united strength that motivated us to be consistently resolute and resilient when the wicked COVID-19 mandate created enormous sufferings on workers in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and in particular, members of the SVGTU. This union, with strong, committed leadership, stood tall, brave, and dedicated, and navigated through these numerous challenges. Needed relief, legal representation, training, and other moral support to all those who were affected. Today, we must ever be grateful for our union that continues to seek justice at the Privy Council to bring a final decision with regards to the vaccine mandate.
Further update on the $100,000 cash grant in Guyana. Direct cash transfers have now been made to 140,546 persons or citizens, comprising 48,858 central government employees, plus 91,688 persons who successfully self-registered on the portal and were verified. Further, in keeping with President Ali's instruction to provide direct assistance to persons residing in hinterland communities, which I was concerned about, and who do not have access to bank accounts and banking facilities, starting with Region 9, a total of 10,417 checks were printed and will be distributed to these persons throughout the week. So when people were asking, so what about people that don't have bank accounts and so forth, and don't have access to the internet, including myself, I was concerned. I'm telling you, this man is one of the best leaders I've seen in the history of our Caribbean region. Finally, the man truly desires to serve his people. It added that with the sector now demonstrating recovery, the focus is on strengthening domestic production, improving resilience, and continuing targeted support to farmers. Bear in mind, people, he is human. And the Bible says that arms of flesh will fail you. So I'm not saying that he will do and say that everything he says and does, I will support. There are things that I don't agree with him on. Matter of fact, I don't think he supports Israel. And I, of course, as a born-again, proud Zionist Christian, I'm fully in support of Israel. And of course, bear in mind, people, if you are Bible-believing Christian, and you believe in the mandate that was set in Romans 11, you too will be a Zionist Christian.
Fellow Guyanese, I trust that you all had an enjoyable and restful Easter weekend. I'm very pleased now to give you a further update on the rollout of the National Cash Grant Initiative, which was announced late last year by President Irfan Ali, and for which we made the necessary financial provisions in Budget 2026. First of all, you would recall a few days ago we had announced that for those central government employees for whom we have bank account information and for whom we pay monthly salaries into their bank accounts, we will be making direct transfers into their bank accounts. You would further recall that that number was 48,858 persons. So we did process, as I have previously indicated, direct transfers to 48,858 central government employees. You would further recall that I indicated that we have established a portal for self-registration. That portal is found at cashgrant.gov.gy. And I'm pleased to inform you now that through the facility of that portal, a total of 126,011 persons have self-registered. I am now even further pleased to inform you that out of that 126,011 persons who completed their self-registration, we have now processed direct transfers to the bank accounts of 91,688 persons. As a result of us processing direct transfers to 91,688 persons, taken together with the 48,858 central government employees who we had previously paid, we have now processed direct transfers to the bank accounts of 140,546 persons. In addition, as President Irfan Ali announced while he was in Region 9 last weekend, recognizing that the hinterland regions have certain particular characteristics in particular or especially the fact that several residents of hinterland regions do not have access to bank accounts or to direct access to banking facilities, that we would be rolling out a special initiative for hinterland regions. And we had deployed teams to assist persons with registration, including persons who did not have bank accounts in Region 9. As a result of that exercise, I'm pleased to say that we have now processed payments, some by direct transfers to bank accounts and some with checks that have been cut. A total of 10,417 payments have been processed for residents of Region 9. So as a result of this initiative, if we were to feature perhaps on two key numbers, we have processed a total of 140,546 direct deposits into persons' bank accounts. That 140,546 persons comprises the 48,858 central government employees and the 91,688 self-registrants, a total of 140,546 persons. And we've also processed payments, primarily check payments, for a further 10,417 persons. That gives us a total of 150,963 cash grants that have been processed. I am sure you would agree with me that this is an extremely resoundingly successful result. We've been able to process an extremely large number of persons very smoothly and efficiently and using very simple processes. I want to urge those of you who have still not been able to complete your self-registration to do so. So please try again if you tried previously and you didn't get through, or try for the first time if you have not previously tried. cashgrant.gov.gy. Enter your information, including your banking information, and you'll be able to receive your Government of Guyana cash grant directly into your bank account without leaving the comfort of your home. I would like also to provide you with one additional piece of very valuable information, and that is that just like we did with Region 9, we're going to be rolling out a similar special registration exercise for every other hinterland region. Because, like I said, we recognize the peculiarities of the hinterland. That's the first additional special announcement that I'd like to make. Secondly, as I've previously indicated, I think I mentioned this last week, we're going to be rolling out a special initiative to assist shut-ins, persons who are unable to leave their homes, perhaps because they're elderly or they're otherwise incapacitated. We're going to be coming to your homes and assisting shut-ins, registered shut-ins. We've generated a database of shut-ins from the old age pension and NIS databases, and we're going to be providing special home-based support for these persons. And thirdly, we're going to be establishing some help desks in several locations countrywide so that citizens can come in who, for one reason or another, were unable to complete their self-registration. They can come in and they can obtain assistance from persons who have been specially trained to be able to complete the registration process online. All of these initiatives are going to start being rolled out later this week. So once again, if I can summarize it, all of that, perhaps in the simplest possible terms, I encourage self-registration by use of the portal at cashgrant.gov.gy, because that's the easiest way and the most efficient way through which you will get your cash grant deposited directly into your bank accounts. Thank you very much.
Peter Murray, president of the Association of Bahamas Mariners, has argued that the revised boating fees taking effect on April 1st, 2026 are still insufficient, to reverse a decline in visitors, asserting that new structure continues to create a significant downturn for the industry. So even though the government is attempting to score political points during this election season, it doesn't seem as though it's working out quite how they expected it. While the government adjusted rates in response to massive backlash against July 2012 fee increases, Murray stated that the changes do not go far enough to bring back boaters who are now choosing other destinations, causing a reported 40% decrease in bookings. And remember, the Bahamas Islands, that nation, they depend mostly on tourism to generate revenue. And you know where that revenue is generated, of course, from the same colonial countries, the same white man countries. And of course, here in the Caribbean, We want the money to come, but we just don't want them to come and actually take control of anything. We don't want the Americans to come and put any bases in our respective islands because we believe that we could do it on our own and all kind of nonsense. Meanwhile, Europe, a lot of European nations depend on same colonial America to protect them. They have military bases all over Europe and the Middle East. But tiny little islands in the Caribbean saying, leave us alone, Jed. But that's a whole different discussion.
Make us competitive, and it doesn't bring back the considerable amount of business, that we've lost as a result. So, I mean, this was I hate to say it, but it was a little bit, to try to appease what we think was, what was not done right in the first place.
Well, Murray is also pointing to the marine sector as a critical opportunity for Bahamians beyond the country's traditional cruise and resort tourism industry.
Bahamians now moving into this space because, the maritime market became so obvious after COVID that, people are getting interested in it. And we have a lot of captains and chefs and people like that were doing quite well in it, not just the people on board. I mean, and I think, it opens up a new space for Bahamians to be involved in, instead of the traditional cruise ships and hotels, I mean, it's something else. And it certainly brings a lot of commerce to the out islands, which don't have cruise ships and resorts or mega resorts or whatever.
The Ministry of Agriculture in Jamaica is reporting that the egg production sector is demonstrating recovery following the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa. The ministry is also underscoring that there is no ongoing importation of eggs as the temporary waiver officially ended on February 28th. It noted that no new import permits have been issued since December 2025. It stated that this reflects its deliberate approach to managing supply based on direct assurances from industry stakeholders that local egg production had sufficiently rebounded following recent climate disruptions. The storm, of course, they are talking about. Of course, you're encouraging local production. I don't have an issue with importation, either, but you just need to have a balance. International news now, and this was quite disappointing, especially when I ended up reading the details about it. President Trump agreed to a ceasefire to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for 2 weeks, contingent on Iran reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Trump said a 2-week period will be used to finalize a possible long-term peace deal with Iran and that negotiations are very far along. The sad thing about it is, one of the terms and conditions set by the Ayatollah in Iran was that they're going to charge $2 million for every ship passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Trump gave them a lifeline. He gave them the ability to recover economically, and I think also they had to remove all kind of sanctions on whatsoever and stuff like that. It's okay if it is. I have no issue if Trump really wanted to end the war, because I don't think that he really wanted to. I know that he didn't want to just destroy Iran. Contrary to what local Kakash media and, of course, the Democrat far-left radical media in America was saying. I never believed that he intended to do so. But I was hoping that they would have continued to target the Ayatollah regime infrastructure and even target their energy industry. But it seems as though Trump has had enough, and he doesn't want to end up being blamed for destroying Iran's capability to recover. But the problem is, now that you're even allowing them to generate this extra revenue and you're removing sanctions on all Trump, what you're giving is the Ayatollah regime the capabilities of regaining full control of their country. And they could come back even stronger than ever before, especially with the assistance of China and Russia and these other communist nations. You started a good job once again, Trump, and you faltered seriously. But my response online was, of course, I don't really think it's the right decision. Matter of fact, no, I don't think it's the right decision at all. But most likely he's considering how Iranians will survive after the energy industry is destroyed. Sadly, the thing about it is, the Iranians still won't benefit from this, because the minority, the Ayatollah, will continue to persecute their citizens and also use all the revenue that is being generated to rebuild their weapons and so forth, and their army bases and so forth, to be able to plan a future attack of America and Israel and other nations. It's yet another sign, though, and this is why, and even Amir Safati, even though he is disappointed, just like myself, yet it is yet another sign that the Ezekiel war is nearer than we think or we thought. The Ayatollah was badly wounded during this war, but most likely liberation won't come for the Iranian people, and because of this foolish deal that Trump decided to agree with, they can probably recover faster than I even thought earlier when I made that comment yesterday. $2 million per ship, people. You know the amount, as someone commented online, and even Amir Safati, billions of dollars within a short space of time will be generated by the Ayatollah regime in Iran. You're basically you're being counterproductive right about now, President Trump. After all the good, all the hard work that both Israel and US and America did the past few weeks, you're coming now and just destroying all that hard work that was done. Lives were lost as well. Americans and I think even Israelis died for the sake of this war, and now you're just giving the Iranians a lot of what they wanted. Yesterday, Senator Lindsey Graham, who has suddenly become sort of spiritually blinded as well, said, I have all the confidence in the world that the president understands who he's talking to in Iran and earnestly seeks a diplomatic solution. Now, he's right about that, but it has to be the right deal. Well, Lindsey Graham, it was not the right deal. He said, President Trump, better than anyone I know, understands how to deal with the toughest of people. He does it to an extent. Credit when credit is due. And definitely, even when it pertains to Venezuela, he did a pretty good job. But once again, he starts a good job and then he leaves it unfinished. And a lot of the times what ends up happening is that the monsters are able to recover and attack with full force again in the future. By that time, maybe Trump will be out of office. So he would be able to be blamed for anything directly anymore. But people will be able to say in the future that Trump is the one that allowed the Ayatollah regime to rebuild and recover. Messianic Jew and Bible teacher Amir Safati's message to the Iranians. And for those who may not know what is a Messianic Jew, those are born-again Christians who are Jews, but they also continue to hold on to a lot of their Jewish traditions and follow a lot of the, observe a lot of the Jewish festivals and so forth. He said to the brave Iranian people, I'm sorry. The IRGC and the Ayatollahs will continue to rule your country for the foreseeable future. Sadly, the Bible seems to show that is what was going to take place anyhow, the Ezekiel 38 war. You were left behind with both a ruined country and the same, if not even worse, leadership. My response, Amir Safati is right, but we all knew it was very unlikely that Trump would have finished the job by removing the Ayatollah from power. The main objective was to limit Iran's capability to use deadly weapons to attack other countries. Sadly, the Iranian people will continue to be tormented and murdered by the Ayatollah savages. And once again, by later last night when I found out the actual deal that he made with the Ayatollah, it is not, once again, as I said before, it's about being counterproductive because with this war, it did limit the capability of the Ayatollah to use deadly weapons. But now you're giving them the funds to be able to restock their inventory, Trump. So even that, you have basically dismantled and destroyed what was already accomplished. It's really sad what has taken place. Now for the interesting fact segment, baby owls, known as owlets, have an adorable and unusual way of sleeping that often surprises people. Instead of perching upright like adult owls, they lie face down on their stomachs while resting. The reason is simple. Their heads are relatively large and heavy compared to their small, still developing neck muscles. This makes it difficult for them to hold their heads up for long periods. So to stay comfortable and avoid strain, they rest flat against the ground or nest. As they grow stronger, they gradually begin to sleep in the typical upright position seen in adult owls.
Welcome to Real Conservative News Travel Adventures. Chaco Culture National Historical Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site in northwestern New Mexico, preserves the highest concentration of ancestral Puebloan great houses in the southwest, thriving between 850 and 1250 CE. Known for its remote, dramatic desert landscape, the park features massive masonry structures, incredible archaeoastronomy, stargazing and hiking trails requiring careful planning due to its isolated location and dirt road access. Key travel details. Location and access. Remote location accessed by roughly 16 to 21 miles of unpaved, often rough, dirt roads, County Road 7950 from the north via Highway 550 or CR 57 from the south. While usually passable for sedans, these can be treacherous during rain. Best time to visit. Spring and fall offer comfortable temperatures. Summer is extremely hot with little shade, while winter is cold. Services. No gas, food, or water is available inside the park. Come prepared with fuel, supplies, and plenty of water. Mobile service. Little to no cell service is available. Highlights and activities. Canyon Loop Drive, a 9-mile paved road providing access to major sites like Pueblo Bonito, Chetro Kel, and Huno Pavi. Pueblo Bonito, the largest and most famous great house, offering a 0.6-mile walk, which features ancient passageways. Hiking. Trails lead to Pueblo Alto, top of the mesa, Peñasco Blanco, famous 1054 supernova pictograph, and Wijiji. Stargazing. As a designated international dark sky park, it offers incredible night sky viewing, often with summer programs at the observatory. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and we'll see you again tomorrow as our journey around the world continues.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.